Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The Motor Dream podcast is recorded on Camaragal land of the Eora Nation. It always was and always will be the lands of the First Nations of Australia.
This is the Motor Dream Podcast.
Hello, I'm Connor McNally, and thank you for joining me for this edition of the Motor Dream Podcast. It's the show where we can dream just a little about what our dream garage would be if money was no issue whatsoever. Throughout the course of this podcast series, we've covered a lot of different areas within the motorsport realm. We've had guests from Supercars, Carrera Cup Australia, Australian Superbikes, Formula One, and even the world of sim racing. But we've yet to have a guest whose talents have featured prominently off-road. That is until this episode, because I'm very fortunate to have one of Australia's most prominent gravel exponents joining me as my guest. But first, here's the premise of what this is all about, especially for our new listeners. I tell my guests that one day they wake up to discover that they've received a text to tell them to check their bank balance. They then open up their bank app and they suddenly discover they have become instant billionaires. As soon as they discover their newfound fortune, they get an email from this mystery benefactor that tells them that they can spend anything that they like and they can buy any car, bike or machine that they want. There is a catch though. They are only allowed 3 cars, bikes or machines in their dream garage. Sounds easy, doesn't it? But trust me, as my previous guests have discovered, it's very difficult to decide what they want. As always, be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast itself on your favourite podcast platform, and be sure to leave a review and tell us what you think of the show. Also, be sure to follow us on our socials, which we'll tell you more about later in the show. If you're a fan of all things rallying, both here in Australia and abroad, then you'd be fully aware and appreciative of the impact the Taylor family have made on the sport for almost half a century. Both Coral Taylor and her husband Mark are Australian rally champions in their own right. Coral has been Australian champion navigator an unprecedented 6 times, all for Toyota, whilst Mark won the Aussie Car class in 1993 with his black Ford Falcon XY GTHO. When you add the exceptional talents of Coral's father, the late Norm Fritter, who was one of the sport's larger-than-life characters during the 1960s and 70s, you have one very talented family. And the talents have extended to Coral and Mark's daughter, Molly Taylor, who was our guest for this edition of the podcast. Since beginning her career almost 20 years ago in a Holden Gemini in the New South Wales Rally Championship, Molly's talents have blossomed both domestically and overseas, becoming a trailblazer for women who aspire to be like her in the world of rallying. In 2016, she created Australian motorsport history by becoming the first woman to win an Australian motor racing championship as a driver, winning the Australian Rally Championship for Subaru Australia. It's a relationship that she retains strong ties with to this very day. And in 2021, at the height of the COVID pandemic, she won the inaugural Extreme E Championship for electric off-road vehicles, sharing the championship honours with Johan Kristoffersson for Rosberg X Racing. It was both these accomplishments and her previous international rally experience prior to 2016 that opened the doors for Molly to sample the Dakar Rally in the T4 SSV class for South Racing Can-Am. She has successfully finished the 2022 and 23 editions of the rally, and she hopes one day to return for another attempt at the biggest rally raid event in the world. Away from the racetrack, Molly maintains a busy schedule. In 2021, both her partner Dan Gardner and herself turned the dream to open their own dream garage into a reality with the creation of the Mad Garage, a workshop space that has spawned into its own YouTube channel supported by Subaru and Super Cheap Auto. Throw in her commentary and presenting duties for the Repco Supercars Championship, plus an appearance to represent Australia at the recent Race of Champions, and you can see how busy Molly really is. So it was fortunate for me to snag a bit of time with Molly very recently as she is building up her preparations for the upcoming FIA Extreme H World Cup, the successor to Extreme E. We got to talk about her career to date, her experiences with Dakar, her brief sojourn on tarmac, and her recent mad garage completion. Fabio, the Subaru WRX with a big turbo and a billet engine producing over 700 brake horsepower. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy my chat with Australian Rally and Extreme E champion, Molly Taylor. Molly Taylor, welcome to the Motor Dream podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on, and I know you're a very busy person, so very much appreciate you giving your time to be on the podcast. And I say you're busy because there's so much going on. You're a rally driver, you own the Mad Garage, you've done Dakar, you're about to do Extreme H, which is the forerunner to Extreme E. You're doing Supercars commitments. I mean, how do you cram all this stuff into your life?
I have long to-do lists and planners and schedules, but yeah, there's always something going on, that's for sure, and always, you know, a few different things always happening at once. So it keeps things exciting, that's for sure.
I'm sure it does. It's almost approaching 10 years since you won your first and so far only Australian Rally Championship.
Thanks for highlighting that time, Gav.
I know. I had to bring that up straight away. It is a long time ago, but it's so significant in the Australian motorsport landscape because I know your mum, Coral, has won the championship as a navigator, but in a driver's sense, no female driver has won a major national championship under the CAM/Motorsport Australia jurisdiction until you did in 2016 for Subaru. You remain the only female to have won a national championship in any discipline, really. Do you feel very, very honoured that you are able to carry, I guess, that distinction in your career?
It's an interesting thing. I think for me, being the first female probably doesn't really mean a lot in many ways. Like personally as a driver, you know, I don't think the championship would have been any less significant or meaningful if I had been the second or the third or the 10th female to do it. But I think it's just as a driver trying to beat the other drivers that are there, and that's the great thing about motorsport. It doesn't matter if it's man or a woman, you're out there doing the same thing. So from all those sides, I don't think about that aspect of it too much. But I think what I have noticed and what has been important is the visibility for, you know, younger girls and girls that might not feel like motorsport can be a pathway for them. I was so lucky in that my mum was already competing professionally when I was growing up. So I had this amazing role model of what was possible. So it definitely, I think it changed my perspective when I decided to get involved in motorsport. So having that influence of that role model and being able to see what is possible, I think I was a huge beneficiary of that. So then looking at my experience, I suppose, and then what that could maybe do to help show other young girls who don't have a mum that competes, that it's still what is possible for a female. I think it's been very meaningful from that side. So that's probably where I look at that whole side. But for me, personally, you just want to drive against whoever else is competing.
You've been very lucky that you've had that support from Subaru and from your parents for a long time, because your dad, Mark, is a former competitor in his own right, and mum, Coral, a current national champion, in fact.
She's still going. She's got 6 championships, and she's going for a 7th this year. So, she's unstoppable. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Did you learn a lot about, I guess, being a driver from your parents, just learning the craft as you went along, as you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, when I started rallying, it was in the garage with Dad and him, very much showing me all those ropes. And then also I was very lucky to have someone like Neil Bates, who my mum co-drove for at the time, as a mentor and driver coach, and still today we'll call him about anything and everything. And he's the first one to pick up the phone and tell me if I've done a bad job, what I need to do differently, tell me if I've done a good job, having that absolute, there's no sugar on anything. It's just tells someone who knows what they're doing, has had so much success, that can tell you what they think. That's been really helpful. So yeah, being able to have someone like Neil to call upon as well has been a huge influence, and still is an influence.
I got to ask, your dad, I remember he had that XY GDHO Falcon.
Got it.
Have you still got it?
Yeah, he's still got it in the shed. Actually, over Easter, my partner Dan and I, we decided to see if we could get it started. So that was a fun project. But it's been sitting, in the back of the shed gathering dust. But I think that must be the only car out there that someone decided that you could get this huge V8 rear-wheel car and put gravel suspension on it and take it on the dirt, because it's not designed at all for that, but it's awesome. It is, it's a very cool car. So that's still in the family.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad about it, because I actually do remember that car. I remember reading Auto Action and Motorsport News, and you could see photos of that particular car going sideways, doing things that, as you said, a car like that. Exactly. Even then, as you were growing up, did you think to yourself, Dad, what the hell are you doing with this big, ugly thing?
Yeah, I mean, his philosophy was, he didn't have the budget to be competing in an outright car. Yeah. So he just wanted something that was, the crowds loved, he loved driving, was fun to drive. And I think, for me growing up, I went to the rallies, and I remember being young and going and watching Mum win championships and things like that. But I never really considered, I don't know why, I never really considered doing it myself, and would kind of walk past the car in the garage and not really think twice. And I wanted to be a horse rider and go to the Olympics for horse riding. And I have no idea where that came from. But it wasn't until I was getting my license for the road, actually, that my mum and my dad was running a rally school at the time on weekends. So he said, both my sister and me need to come out and drive on gravel, drive some rally cars and just learn car control, and purely from a driver safety point of view, just to be competent drivers for when we went out on the road. So that was the first time I drove a rally car on dirt, and then I was the light bulbs flicked on very quickly at that point, and I realized what it was all about. And then that was a slippery slope after that.
I actually did a rally course a couple of years ago. It was a belated 40th birthday gift. So I remember doing it. It was out just past the Hawkesbury, actually, that rally school.
Colo?
Yes, out of Colo. And yeah, that was fun. And I'm from a circuit racing background. I prefer circuit racing, but there was something about rallying that I really enjoyed, because you then had to really work the car. The car control was very different to anything that I had done before. It's a real eye-opening experience. And for anyone that's not done it, what should they do? Should they go in with an open mind, or should they just learn from the experts and just absorb everything in?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and that's what the great thing about the rally school is, to be able to experience that with someone to sort of help guide you along the way. But that was, for me, was the sensation of driving a car on gravel, and that feeling of the car moving underneath you, and how you can slide it into corners, and that sort of almost like dancing on top of the surface. That was the feeling. The speed and all of that, yes, and you get that on a circuit, it's exciting. But for me, it was that element that I just thought was really cool, and that's what drew me to. I mean, I was already exposed to rallying, but that's really what set off the passion, I suppose, for it. Was just that enjoyment of sliding the car around on gravel. Still now it's very hard to top that feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. But I know, my first time that I heard about you, Bathurst 12 Hour 2010 in Jim Hunter's Subaru. So
I had no idea what I was doing then. It was amazing.
Because I remember, Jim entered two cars, and one of them I do remember he actually he crashed that one, unfortunately, and I think they were in a position to win the race. It crashed into Eric Banner. Well, Eric Banner was waiting to take over the car.
It was an Evo,
yeah, it was an Evo as well, and you were in the non-turbo car, and I think it was an all-female.
I think it was the slowest car in the field. I wasn't trying to stay out of Eric Banner's way.
I remember that race very well, and for other reasons, obviously that tree that fell over coming out of Forest Elbow. I mean, that was just a wild weekend, because it was just so wet and just so unpredictable. Do you remember much of that race other than trying to stay out of the way?
Yeah, that's probably the most solid memory, I think. But yeah, I do had the opportunity to go and do a 12-hour, back when it was more production based cars, and we were in this non-turbo Subaru, and I had no idea what I was doing, but just absolutely loved it. And the fact of doing the long stints and sitting in the car for hours was unreal. So yeah, I guess that was my first taste of tarmac quite early on, and then yeah, really went down the gravel route. But that's something that I'll definitely remember and would love to do some more endurance racing. I really like that style.
Yeah. Was that the beginning of the Subaru association with you, or did that come a little bit later?
No, that was completely unrelated. The Subaru thing then didn't happen until end of 2015. So I moved over to the UK and competed over there in the British Championship and European and Junior World Championship, and was kind of throwing everything at trying to make that career happen. And then at the start of 2015 was planning to do the full Junior World Rally Championship, and then my sponsorship essentially fell through in January that year, and it all quickly came to a halt and didn't really have anything. No backup plan. And then it was Scott Petter actually who races in the Australian Championship and part of the Petter suspension brand. He had a Renault Clio that he'd used to win the championship the year before in 2014, and he said, I've got a car and a truck and a bunch of spares, and if you want to find a way to make the rest happen, there it is. So I came back to Australia and did the Australian Championship in 2015, and that just kind of coincided with about the time when Subaru were looking at coming back into the championship after having been in it and dominated it for so long. And Mum will probably hit me for saying dominated, because Toyota, who she was racing with, the arch rivals, and it was always Possenborn and Neil Bates, and that's kind of what I grew up with. So I grew up, wearing red jackets to rallies, and then had the opportunity to jump ship and join the Blue Army for 2016. So just the timing worked out perfectly. And at the beginning of the year, I thought my rally career was over, and by the end, I was a factory driver and finally doing it as a job. So it was a pretty cool turn of events.
I bet it was. I just want to touch on the European experience. Obviously, you did the British and European championships, you did the Junior World Championship as well. How tough was that? In terms of, not just sponsorship, because I know you had to really try and find that, and especially for Australians trying to make it internationally, that's very, very difficult. But what about the competition? How difficult was that?
Yeah, the competition, it's a lot more dense. There's a lot more juniors. It's really the mecca for rallying over there. So you've got all the juniors want to come to be able to test themselves and find those opportunities. So the competition, and then, as you say, to be able to get those opportunities to even try to do that is difficult. So I moved over there and was working in a workshop, lived in the end of a barn for quite a while, rode the whole roller coaster, and had the opportunity to try out for the WRC Academy, the Pirelli Star Driver program, which is essentially like the junior championship at that point. And managed to win a scholarship to compete in that. So that really changed everything, because then I had the opportunity to compete at the world level, which I just financially wouldn't have had the opportunity otherwise, and led to the opportunity to do more over there. And until it all, I'm sure most people have a motorsport story about running out of sponsorship and funding at some point. But it is just super, super competitive. And that's where everyone's trying to live that dream. And I guess it's a bit like Formula One. There's a huge amount of people that want that dream. The fight for it is definitely very intense.
And there's a lot more people now trying to get into Formula One off the back of Mark Webber, Daniel Ricciardo, and now Oscar.
Exactly.
So it's a very, very cutthroat environment. But mind you didn't disgrace yourself in your time over in Europe. I mean, you won the British Ladies Rally Championship. That was in 2009, and you did it again in 2010. You won a stage in the WRC Academy for the Rally GB in 2011. Placed third in the Wales Rally in that Junior World Championship in 2012-13. So that was pretty cool. European Ladies Rally Champion, and third in the Junior WRC in Rally Finland. So, I mean, there's a lot there that you accomplished in that time. So do you look back on that with a little bit of pride, more of a sense of pride that you achieved a lot of those things despite the lack of budget and, having to find a way to make ends meet?
Yeah, I think for me, achieving a podium at Rally Finland in the Junior World Rally Championship is that's up there with winning championships, I think, for me in terms of achievements, because Rally Finland is it's like the Monaco Grand Prix of rally, and it's the most iconic, probably one of the hardest WRC events. So to achieve a podium there was just something that will always be incredibly special. And I feel like my best achievement over there. So yeah, it does sting a little bit for that not to continue on when, there's all that, what could have been, I suppose. And when you look at the people you're competing against and what some of them have gone on to do and all of those things. So yeah, there is a bit of that, but I think, yeah, at the same time, there's a lot I learn as well. Like there are a lot of mistakes I made too along the way. And I look back, I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. But I suppose that's what everyone will say about everything they're trying to do in life. But yeah, there's certainly, some very special moments and some things that, I'm very proud of to be able to show what we could do.
All right, I have to ask this question. How did you survive on food? Like, was it like baked beans on toast or anything like that?
Yeah, and that first year in the UK, there was a period, where I was, I sort of went over there and then I didn't have all the money to make it happen. So it was like a very wake up call and reality of trying to find enough money to survive and then trying to find budget to go rallying, and luckily the team basically lent me the car for I think £1,000 a round, which is it's just not at all what it costs, and they would help. I'd work on the car in the workshop and then they would help me with bits and pieces, so I didn't have any mechanics bills, and some incredible generosity of our sport. And then the year after was just lent a car for nothing, just to help keep me going. So yeah, it was really that story of scraping together everything, and just 100% of what you did was trying to make it happen. And yeah, a lot of dodgy English food. I think I discovered Scotch eggs actually. My first year over there. They are brilliant.
Which is actually, look, Scotch eggs are not that bad. It could be worse. Could be black pudding.
Oh no, I would know. It never went there.
Okay.
No,
oh no. I tried black pudding a couple of years ago on my honeymoon.
You try it once, don't you? And then that's
it's like, even though it's a very Irish thing, and and I'm of Irish heritage. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't. I just can't do it. I can't do rabbit either. I was in Malta, also on my honeymoon. I just can't do rabbit. Sorry.
No, I don't think I've ever done that.
No,
I've
don't.
Tried haggis, tried a bit of black pudding, and that's probably left it at that.
I don't blame you. Don't blame you at all. Now that, in hindsight, you've got the opportunity, you've done a lot of European stuff or international stuff since then. We'll touch on that in a moment. If you get an opportunity to do things like a World Rally Round again, or do something that's rally related outside of Extreme E or Dakar, would you have would you jump at the chance to do it, or would it be a case of, or would it be a case now of having to find the budget to do it again? Or do you think, given your stature now in the sport, do you think it'd be a much easier route to get a World Rally?
It still comes down to budget. And then I think that is a difficulty being an Aussie trying to compete internationally. The sport from a rally side just is big over here, and the funding is just astronomical. So, I guess I want to say it's not impossible, but to find that level of budget to compete in the sort of second tier category in the WRC, you need upwards of $1 million. So to be able to find the corporate partners that can extract the value out of that, it's just a very small pool and very difficult to make happen. So I would absolutely love to, but I think, realistically, it's probably a very, very long shot.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. But since then, you've made your mark, and as I said, in other ways of rallying. You've, of course, done Dakar and Extreme E. You are the champion in 2021 of Extreme E, which is a whole new concept at the time, off-road electric racing, which is, amazing to think that actually happened. A male driver and a female driver competing as one in a team against so many other different teams, and had the backing of Nico Rosberg. In fact, you drove for Nico Rosberg in 2021, and you did exceptionally well at that. And you were leading the 2024 championship until the pin was pulled. So, unofficially, we could say you're a two-time champion.
Yeah, I know that was heartbreaking to be leading the championship and it all postponed. But yeah, I think for me, Extreme E changed the course of my career for sure, because it was at that point we've been doing the Subaru program, which been absolutely incredible, but then it got to COVID and there was no rallying, and suddenly there's not that many jobs for a rally driver out there. That was probably the only one that existed. So it's not like you just apply somewhere else. That was that was kind of that, and I still work a lot with Subaru, and we've done some rallying since then, but not in the sort of official factory team like they had for those 4 years. So for Extreme E to then come along during that COVID year really was when it all sort of started to gather momentum, and to have the opportunity to go and different format in electric SUVs, all the work they're doing on the sustainability side and the technology around that, and to be racing, as you said, there was Lewis Hamilton owns a team, Jenson Button, Nico Rosberg, Carlos Sainz. There was Sebastian Loeb driving, Nasser Al-Attiyah was driving. Just you pick the who's who of all the disciplines of motorsport, from Dakar to WRC to Rallycross, and put them all in one paddock in the middle of the Saudi desert. Like, it's just, it was absolutely unreal. And that's provided. I mean, that was what led to the opportunity to do Dakar, the opportunity to now some rallycross as well. So it's been an incredible ride, and something that I didn't see coming, but has totally kind of taken over, I suppose, all the opportunities that are in front of me now.
I'll just rattle off some of the names that have taken part in this. And there's obviously a Swedish presence in there with Kevin Hansen, and Clara Anderson and the like. But other than yourself, names like Dania Akil, who won a stage of Dakar this year, Sarah Price, Laia Sanz, Christina Gutierrez, who won Dakar outright in T3 last year, Matthias Ekström, Travis Pastrana, and at one point Jimmy Johnson, a NASCAR legend in his own right, was about to take part in that. I mean, there's some really big names that have taken part, particularly in last season's competition before it got pulled. But I mean, that's an incredible list of names that have really gotten behind Extreme E. Does it shock you that it's gained popularity over the last few years because of the sustainability and the viability of electric racing, and now hydrogen racing as it's about to become?
Yeah, I think it's really a testament to what they're trying to do, and kind of in many respects throw the rule book out of what has been done before and look at, well, what do we need to do moving into the future? What is a good format? What do the cars need to be? What technology do we need to develop more and start putting investment into it? And I think the fact that you have all those names that you listed off shows just how much everyone believes in the concept and wanting to be involved in that and help accelerate it and grow its popularity. Because, a lot of people, you say we're racing electric cars and they go, oh, they're so boring to watch. And then you watch Extreme E and
it's not boring at all, is it?
Chaos. So, I think it's incredibly clever, and it's very, I think, meaningful. We, as a driver, selfishly, you just love racing and trying to win and the feeling of driving a car. But when you come to Extreme E, it's about so much more than that. Yes, we need to, put on a show and do good racing because that's what we're all there for. But it's, how can you use that to be something bigger and be part of something bigger, and all the work we do in performance and trying to find the edge. How can we use that to help be part of a solution? How can everyone watching at home who are all motorsport fans, how can they be part of, what we need to look at moving forward? So I think that sense of like everyone's kind of on a bit of we're all pioneers in some degree, and we're all testing out these new concepts and new technologies and how to make them work. And in the most extreme environments, when you're racing your 2-ton cars next to each other, half the time you can't see. It's very incredible and very special to be part of. And I just, I still can't play it cool around half the field. But anyway, just sort of racing around your idols. It's it's mental.
I love the fact also that you have a male driver and a female driver, and they both share equal driving opportunities. It's not like one driver going up against another. You're working as a team. It's a great concept because, that's all. Obviously, it's been a male-skewed sport for a very long time, and there's obviously still that imbalance in the sport, more males than females. But I love the fact that with Extreme E, soon to be Extreme H, both male and female drivers represent equally on the grid. Do you like that concept? And should we see more of that moving forward?
Yeah, it's been incredible, actually, to be honest, because at the start, if you we're doing this new series, let's take the 10 best male drivers from around the world. You're picking Carlos Sainz, you're picking Sebastian Loeb, you're picking Jenson Button. You have these, Johan Kristoffersen, the Hansen brothers. You have this, like, whoever you want. The list is huge. And then on the female side, there's no female 9-time World Rally champion, or there just isn't that depth on that side. So I guess every team had to find what females are out there in off-road and what are they doing, and it's kind of forced the development, because the best strategy to try and win is to provide more opportunity for seat time and development to the female drivers. And Absolutely. If you look at from season 1 to season 3, the performance delta between the male and female drivers has closed 70%, which is a huge thing to do in 3 seasons. And I think Extreme have kind of put their money where their mouth is and said, let's see if this works. And probably a lot of people thought it was crazy, but what they've been able to prove is that if there is the right opportunities and there's access to the same amount of seat time and development opportunities, it is possible. So I think that's been really encouraging, and that's kind of shown other categories and other teams what is possible. And I think now we're seeing more opportunities come off the back of that. So, in an ideal world, it should just be equal from the start and the best drivers are out there. But I think, as we've already spoken about, motorsport isn't that simple. You need to have seat time to be able to improve. You can't just go and kick a footy for an extra hour if you want to be better at footy than someone else. You have to have these opportunities, and the opportunities aren't free. So unless you have a huge amount of money in the bank or, you have access to these opportunities, it's very difficult for it to happen. So I think it's been pretty like game changing, I would say, for what Extreme has been able to, as like a proof of concept, what they've been able to show. So I'm very lucky to have been able to be part of that. And now our job is to go out there and do the job. So ultimately be given these opportunities, but now you need to take them and perform. So that's the fun part.
2025 marks the first season of Extreme H, which is the I guess the evolution of what Extreme E was. So it's going to be hydrogen power for 2025. Yeah. There's no set calendar as yet, but it has been confirmed that it will go ahead and happen. I know you're itching to get a drive in 2025. I know you can't say too much at the moment, but how excited would you be if you actually got the opportunity to take part in Extreme H in 2025? Because there's obviously unfinished business. You should have won the 2024 championship.
It would have been nice to take 2 championships. Yeah, that's for sure. So yeah, we definitely got unfinished business there. But I think Extreme is still relatively new, and already they're looking at the next technologies. And I think that's the cool thing about the championship. It's always very forward looking, and what does the future look like for, if you look at the automotive landscape as a whole, and where are the technologies, and then how do we use them for racing, which always up technology translating across to the road. So yeah, I think it's very exciting to be part of that, and the thought that now we'll have these hydrogen fuel cells as well. It's going to be another incredible adventure. So I just want it to start tomorrow.
Don't blame you. Although there is the opportunity to potentially go the powerboat route, because the same promoters that have done Extreme E / Extreme H are now doing the electric powerboat series, which is really taken off, and it's had like people like Tom Brady and Will Smith get involved. I know Sarah Price has been racing those boats, and a few of the other competitors. I think Laia Sanz has competed in that series as well.
Yeah, Timmy and Katie as well.
Yeah.
They compete. Well, they did compete together, and now they compete in different teams.
Yeah, are you interested?
Extreme faces.
Yeah, are you interested in potentially going down the boat route potentially?
I would be open to it for sure. I mean, I think I wasn't around when the training started initially, but then since then I've been watching it, going, oh, that looks like a bit of fun. Very different. I think I can imagine. It's just learning a completely new skill, but for sure I'd give it a go. It looks like a lot of fun. They really seem to enjoy it.
You could ring up Todd Kelly and ask him how to drive a boat.
Funny you mentioned that. I have. I told Todd. I spoke to Todd and I said, "You need to be driving these. This is you.
It's perfect for him, isn't it? It's perfect."
Yeah, exactly. So I need to keep pushing. Maybe I could be the manager that brokers the deal.
You should do that, actually. You mentioned before, doing Extreme E led to Dakar. It gave you the opening to do the Dakar Rally. You've done Dakar twice. Both times you finished it, and both times were brutal. You did them in the T4 class.
You've explained it very well.
Yeah, exactly. I've worked on the coverage the last couple of years for SBS, and I will admit I am an employee of SBS, and reported on it, which this year was a great success for Daniel Sanders. He won the rally for the first time, second Australian to do so, which was absolutely fantastic, and the biggest Australian contingent that I can think of in a very long time, but the only one competing in the cars was Toby Price, obviously. We would love to see you do Dakar again, but it is such a demanding exercise, not just physically and mentally, but in terms of financial. It's that, again, you have to raise the money to do it, and it's like when I spoke to Sarah Price recently, it is, even if you have a factory drive with a manufacturer, you still have to get the money to support you because it's such a big undertaking.
Yeah, it is. It's an amazing event, but yeah, and it also is one of those ones that it's so brutal because it goes for so long and there's so many variables that to string one together where everything goes well is also that takes many years. So, I was just incredibly lucky to have the opportunity to do those Dakars, but as you said, both of them just always came a point. I mean, thinking the second one I did, it was every day apart from one, I had a mechanical issue. So it just, it's really disheartening when you need that momentum so much and you're sort of fighting through and we got to the finish, which I mean is an achievement in itself, but not where we wanted. And so I still feel like I've got a lot of unfinished business there. But again, to do it, you're talking, best part of 7 figures to raise it. So
yeah. That's
a small challenge to overcome.
Absolutely. Where did that opportunity to do Dakar come from back in 21?
Yeah, it was quite amazing actually. I was chatting to a few people. It started really just trying to get more seat time outside of extreme E and off-road capacity in sort of rally raid and in the Can-Am side-by-side buggies and started speaking to Scott Abraham from South Racing, who's one of the biggest teams there. I think the last year that I did it, it was 21 or 22 side-by-sides they had in their team, and Can-Am was their big partner in that team and managed to be able to work together with them and do some work with Can-Am in Australia. And yeah, they're all just kind of like a dream come true, to be honest, that I wasn't expecting to have that opportunity in front of me. But when it did arrive unexpectedly, I just took it with both hands and tried to make the most of it.
What was the biggest challenge other than all the mental, trying to survive the 2 weeks mentally? What was the big challenge for you in terms of navigating a stage? Is it going in blind mostly and trying to follow the road book as much as possible? Or was it just the challenges of like all the obstacles in the way, like rocks or other cars or spectators? What were the big challenges?
I mean, all of the above. Like mentally for sure is the hardest thing, but it's one of those events that 8,500 kilometers, it's so long and you're going through every terrain you could imagine, sand dunes the size of mountains, literally rock crawling up the side of other mountains. And then you try to navigate in kind of like an orienteering style, which is incredibly difficult in itself. And being able to judge, not only navigate, but judge the pace, because you can't hit some areas flat out because you risk breaking the car. But at the same time, if you drive just to look after the car, the pace is still incredibly high. Everyone is driving flat out for 5 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
So trying to manage that balance and try and do as much as fast as you can, but just at the right moment lift off so the compression isn't as hard. We're on a train, you actually don't know what's coming, to try to read that. Sorry. Is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, I can understand. Is there any speed restrictions during Dakar? Because I know the bikes do 160 kilometres an hour. They can't go any faster than that. But what about the cars? Is there any speed restrictions in that regard?
Yeah, on the category. So the T4 cars, which I was in, is 125 and then goes up to 135 and 100 and I think it's 170 now for the main cars, which, I mean, 125 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're driving through the complete desert, it's fast enough.
And you got no windscreen either, so it does feel very different, doesn't it?
Well, we actually had a windscreen for most of it because it's a little bit more aerodynamic. So you don't have any sides, but you can have just a front windscreen in the Can-Am, which is very, very helpful. But even so, sometimes when if you're in mixed in with trucks, they can go at 140 km an hour. So if you're maxed out and they're maxed out, they're driving past you and the rocks they fling up. We broke a couple of windscreens just from rocks coming out the back of trucks.
Oh, wow.
It was quite gnarly. So I was at that point when the rocks came in there, I was very glad we did have a windscreen.
Yeah. And also you mentioned conditions before. I think I remember in 22 or 23, there was like, it rained for a couple of stages to the point there was flash flooding. So
yes.
Do you remember that?
I lost feeling in one of my feet for like weeks and weeks after Dakar because my feet were that cold and I don't know, just with having the race boots on for that period of time, one of my feet went completely numb.
Oh, really?
So it was, which isn't very helpful, but
Like, how cold are we talking at that time of day, or time of night, I should say?
Yeah, like overnight, I mean, you're in the desert, so it's getting down to probably, I would say, close to zero overnight. You know, in the mornings it's below 10, and then you're driving for 2 hours to get to a stage in a buggy that's essentially open. So yeah, before you start the stage, you're already hanging. Yeah, and then it's raining and you're wet. So you literally, Dakar, it's an amazing experience because from the driving side, from the mental side, from the physical side, like it's just pushing you to your limit in all aspects continuously every day for 2 weeks straight. So it's one of those things that, you always get to a point halfway through the race where you're like, why am I doing this? And then as soon as you finish the next day, you're like, okay, we need to do that again. And this time when I did that, I'll do this instead. And it's just, one of those challenges that's so frustrating and heartbreaking and horrible, but also the most amazing and rewarding experience of your life at the same time.
I love the fact that Dakar has really brought the presence of female competitors to the fore in the last few years.
Yeah.
We've seen Christina Gutierrez win Dakar outright, which was fantastic. I thought it was a great story. Sarah Price almost won T4 last year.
Yeah.
She didn't do as well this year, but her presence in there is very prominent. And this year, Danny Akil won a stage in T3. So it's great to see that those drivers have really stepped up and taken it up to a lot of the competitors and have done successfully. That's, I think, a great aspect of what Dakar's all about. Everyone's on an even playing field, no matter what machine it is. Yeah,
totally. And that's been so good to see. And it sort of snowballs, when you see some success, then more success comes. So I think, it's been an incredible part in that rally raid format and the higher level of females that are competing and the success there, at the end of the day, you still need to go out and do the job. And that's exactly what they're doing. So I think that, is only going to be good and encourage more. And that format, I think lends itself because it's so much more open. There's so many different skills you have to bring to it. It's not, did you have access to spend a week training at that circuit? Everyone's kind of thrown into the deep end together. And so it kind of levels it out to some degree as well. So I mean, you still need a lot of experience in that field, but I think it's kind of more attainable in some ways. And we've seen the results of that. It's honestly, and when you're in those paddocks, no one is caring if it's a male or a female they're competing against. They're just all there suffering and enjoying it, and it's very much everyone's there just enjoying the spirit of what it's about.
Do you have to be a bit mad to be doing Dakar?
100%.
Yeah, I think
100%.
I look at all the competitors and you can just see how weary they are by the end of 2 weeks. It's just it's a whole different experience altogether.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's one of those sort of bucket list things, I think.
I have to ask one more question about Dakar. Obviously, it's a part of the World Rally Raid Championship, five-round series around the world. We obviously don't see Australia on that list, but I would love to see around Australia Rally come back in some capacity as part of the World Rally Raid Championship. Do you ever think that a round Australia Rally for this kind of competition would be feasible these days, or not really?
I mean, it would be amazing, especially in a country like ours. We have so much diversity in the terrain. Like, you could really have an incredible cross-country experience. The realities of getting access to roads and all the event organizational logistics, I mean, I don't think it's impossible. It would just need the right people with the right connections and the motivation to make it happen. So I don't know how realistic it would be in the short term, but it would definitely be doable. It would be amazing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Away from obviously the rallying world, you've done a little bit of circuit racing, and now these days you do a lot of stuff in the media. You've been a Supercars commentator, you've done the Speed Series for Stan, and you're now a gun reporter for hire on a freelance level, and now you've got the Mad Garage. As I said, you're a very busy woman. How do you keep yourself not being bored right now? Like doing the Mad Garage and doing the media, you got your hands full.
Yeah, it's busy. And yeah, I think it's like the commentary stuff is really exciting in a completely different way. I really enjoy that, and kind of looking from the outside in at all the different teams and what they're doing. I find that really enjoyable, and a bit of an adrenaline buzz as well, being on live TV and trying not to swear or stuff it up. That always It's not quite the same buzz as driving, but it's still an adrenaline rush for sure.
How much?
Yeah, the Mad Garage, it actually started when I was in hotel quarantine during Extreme E.
Oh, really?
I was sitting in a hotel room for 2 weeks with too much time on my hands, clearly. And I'd always wanted my own workshop, and then just kind of pieced together of how we would make that happen, and just have something that was ours, that we were in control of our own destiny, or the partners that we work with, how we could do more with them and create all these ideas and sort of have this space where we could have friends over and hang out and watch motorsport and work on cars and work on our projects and run a rally program from, and yeah, just that sort of dream space where you just want to go to and be in. So that's where the dream started, and yeah, now we're fully fledged in running our own YouTube channel, which is another
Hang on, you're going up against
little
Mighty
bit of work that we took on.
You're going up against Mighty Car Mods now. They've got their own. They've got the.
Yeah, we're definitely no Mighty Car Mods. But we're actually good friends with the guys, and I've been trying to get Blair to come in a rally car. So keep that on this space. He said he's keen, so we want a Mad Garage for Mighty Car Mods Rally Edition. That's definitely in my list of things to put together. So you never know, it might happen.
It's a really cool concept what you've done with the Mad Garage. Obviously, you're taking control of your own destiny. You and your partner Dan, or like you guys have obviously created this, and as you said, came out of hotel quarantine when you were doing Extreme E. How long did it take from the concept going into your brain into actually putting it all together into reality?
Well, we went to look at the workshop. I found the workshop online while it was in the hotel, and then the day after I got a hotel quarantine, we went to inspect the unit. So that part happened pretty quickly. And then it was probably the best part of a year, because, it was sort of like spending every weekend there. It was just a concrete box. So we decided we would do everything except the electrics and the plumbing. We had to get someone in, but literally everything else we did ourselves with some YouTube tutorials. So you don't want to look too closely at all the finishes, because you can probably tell that we did it. But yeah, it was kind of just a labor of love, and we did everything, and designed it the way we wanted, and all the sort of crazy touches and things like that. So yeah, it was probably about a year.
Fantastic.
And then January the following year we launched it, and yeah.
And you've got the support of Super Cheap Auto as well. Subaru are very much behind it as well. And you've had, since the garage has been opened, you've created a monster of a track day car that is also a bit of a tarmac rally car, the Subaru WRX I'm talking about. And I saw that on YouTube recently. You did a track day out at Symonds Plains down in Tasmania. And I know circuit racing is still a niche concept for you, because you're very much a gravel racer, but how fun was that to drive around Symonds Plains and try not to go sideways too much?
It was quite scary, actually, because the car has about 700 horsepower.
What?
And not a lot of grip. So we actually did a hill climb in it a couple of weeks ago, so that'll be the next video coming out. But we did this hill climb, which was a proper hill climb in Tasmania, going up this one of the roads, a bit like one of the roads they use in Tiger Tasmania, and like proper twisty trees everywhere. It was a bit damp, and the car was just four-wheel drifting out of every corner. It was, incredible car, and yeah, we've got a lot of history with Fabio, as we call him, was our rally car, and we did 4 rounds of the Production Cup last year, and ran the car out of the Mad Garage, as well as with the guys down in Tassie, and now Craig Brooks, who owns that car, has it's his passion project, which is trying to just put the most ridiculous engine with the biggest turbo in that thing and make it as light as possible, and just see how cool you can make a WRX, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, we've got lots of fun projects planned with that, and track days and hill climbs and that sort of stuff, just for a bit of fun, because it's a very cool piece of equipment. We just need to work on the handling a bit to get a bit more grip, because right now it's a bit of a handful.
I was going to say, I think you were holding on for dear life when you were doing those track laps.
Yeah, you just can't pull gears fast enough. It's unbelievable.
Well, how did that car come about? Obviously, you drove that car prior to its redevelopment into what it is now, but how did you come across that car?
Yeah, so Craig Brooks initially built it down in Tassie, and then in 2019, when we were running with the Subaru factory team, his team and they built the car and ran it on behalf of Subaru. So that was, I guess, my first experience with the car, and then COVID happened, and the rally program stopped, and Craig actually, as part of a COVID project, built this tarmac engine with this big turbo, and then after COVID, he put it back into gravel trim, and he was about to did a few rallies and bits and pieces, and he was about to put it back into tarmac trim, and I rang up, I think it was 2003, and said, can you just hold off for a bit? I'm trying to put some money together. Let's go rallying again. So he did, and he held off, and we did 2 rounds in 23 and 4 rounds in 24. And then, after we finished that program, Brooksy said, "Is like, okay, now we're going back to the big horsepower spec." So now we're just having fun with it. But yeah, that car we've got a lot of history with that car, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. We have a bit of a tumultuous relationship at times. He can be quite finicky when he wants to be, but as far as building a WRX, particularly in the gravel side, to the production rally specification, which it's the technical spec you're allowed to build those cars to. I don't think there's anyone that's put in more man hours and labor and love and thought and attention to detail. It's really a very impressive car and fun to drive. So he still will always have a special place. It was nice to have him at the Mad Garage for a while.
Yeah, it sounds like a beautiful car. And having watched that video you did of Simmons Plains, like there's so much power in that. Like, I know supercars have around 650 horsepower, but most of those drivers can handle the amount of torque that they have at the rear wheels. Yeah. This is going through all 4 wheels, and yet there's not enough grip.
Yeah. Yeah, we need some different tires, maybe.
What did you have on the wheels?
Oh, just like the Yokohama R spec.
Oh, okay, so AO50, AO52 or something. Okay,
you know all the numbers. I don't remember the codes, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. Could be. It could have been like Hancocks or something. You wouldn't have known until you found out afterwards.
Yeah, whatever Brooksy put it on. But we got some Yokies on there. So, no, I mean, it's fun now developing that car, because in terms of, we had it so dialed in for gravel, and now it's got some Ryger tarmac suspension on it, which is great. But like the potential is there when you start putting that much power in. Got all the geometry, all the handling, the suspension and spring rates, and also all the aero now, because, the speeds we get to in rally, there's a bit of aero, but it's not really such a critical thing. Whereas now this car, aero is a thing. So we've got a front splitter on it, but we've got more work we can do on the rear. And so it's nice to have another little project working on in the background.
I have a feeling that car sounds like it's going to be a time attack type of car.
I think if we keep saying it enough, maybe we can convince Brooksy. So
get him to do the World Time Attack Challenge, maybe.
I think he would be open to that.
Yeah, I think you would. I think I could see you actually doing that.
It would be fun.
Yeah. Would you also do more circuit racing if you had the opportunity? I know you've talked in the past of you're doing potentially supercars if the opportunity came around, but you've done TCR as well, and I remember that was a very interesting time.
Challenging,
Like how much of a challenge was it? Obviously, very different to what you've driven, front wheel drive predominantly. It wasn't the same kind of specs that you were used to a Subaru, even though Subaru by name, it really wasn't in that respect. It was a challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, front wheel drive Subaru it just sounds a bit wrong, doesn't it?
It does. Although mind you, earlier Subarus were front wheel drive. So
yeah, that's true. It was an awesome experience. I think for me, obviously, it's such a learning curve coming from gravel into tarmac, and the cars that they had were they were still the prototype cars out of Italy. So just in terms of development, there was so much more that needed to be done. So it was kind of like the double whammy. So it was, I learned a huge amount. Ultimately, the cars were never going to be competitive. So that was always, a struggle coming in with already enough things to learn. And I tested a supercar as well back in 2017. So did kind of look at that option for a bit, but I think, like we've spoken about, motorsport's not cheap, and it has to be done the right way. So unless there was, an opportunity to do it properly, then I would consider anything. But it has to be done the right way, and you want to give it your best shot and put everything into it. So it wasn't something back in 2017 that I wanted to walk away from rallying at that point with kind of what the opportunity was on the table. So no regrets on that side. If there were opportunities to do other stuff, I would grab them. Driving everything. I think that's kind of what over the years, you just take what opportunities come. And, when we started rallying, I would have never thought be doing Dakar or Rallycross, or Extreme E didn't even exist. So it's, it's a good testament to, like, you never know what will open if you just there and take them and run with them.
You grew up obviously with a car mad household. Your mum, of course, we mentioned before, a multiple Australian champion. Your dad did rallying for a long time, ran at rally school as well. But you had a lot of cars, and you've talked about this with Greg Rust in the past. In fact, on the very first episode of Rusty's Garage, that was something that you passionately talked about. You grew up with a lot of cars. Do you remember the cars that stood out for you that you remember fondly and wish you had kept if you were able to in the Mad Garage now?
Oh gosh, I've got a wish list. The cars that I've never had, Dean, who drove for Subaru, had a two-door GC8 WRX that he offered me years ago, which now would be an excellent price. It would have been a very smart financial decision.
Absolutely.
So I will always have regret over that, and he always reminds me of it. That's definitely a dream one. And for me, it's like that era of the 90s JDM cars. So for me, actually, one of my hero cars, alongside the 22B and that GC8 style Subaru is the Celicas, the GT4s, because, that's when I was young. They were the cars that mum was winning the championships in. So for me, it's that era of 165, 185, 205 GT4s.
Oh, they were beautiful cars.
Yeah, the old Subarus, and then anything group like the Quattros and Lancias and 205 Peugeots and all of that stuff. So yeah, if that was my dream garage, it would be full of those.
Well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that in a moment, because I want to touch on the dream garage very shortly. But I remember some of the cars. I think you had an Audi Quattro at one point, or your family did,
yes,
a genuine Audi Quattro, and an E30 BMW M3.
That didn't last very long.
What?
that is the E30s are just beautiful, and Dan, my partner, was a BMW mechanic for 12 years, so that's his dream car. So
that's my favorite.
They are stunning. Yeah.
Are they good to drive? Are they good to drive?
Yes, very sweet car.
Oh. Yeah. Why did you get rid of it? Because I so want to own one.
They're expensive.
I know. I've seen. I had a look the other day.
Trying to fund a rally career here.
170,000 I saw recently for.
Oh wow. Okay,
my jaw dropped as soon as and that was on car sales. That was in Victoria, down where you live these days, down in Melbourne.
Yeah.
I saw there was like two of them, and like one was about $172,000.
Wow. Okay, they've gone up huge amount. Yeah.
That is crazy. What about the Quattro? Have you still got that, or your parents still got that?
So it's a very sad story, actually. My dad was restoring a Quattro, and it had a fuel leak and burned down.
You're joking.
So that car is no more, which is very heartbreaking, because it was, the Quattros, and for me, like Michel Mouton, Fabrizio Pons, it's such an iconic rally car, but that is no more, and really heartbreaking story. So no Quattro.
Oh wow, I did not know
no
that.
Quattro in the garage. Yeah, so it the car that I've got in the garage at the moment is, I was about to say, is the best out of all of them, and maybe sentimentally it could be up there. Financially wise, it's not very high value, but we got a Subaru Brumby. It almost has 400,000 kilometers on it, so we're getting very close to that tick over. It's still completely stock. It's the original beige with the tartan interior. So that's our Mad Garage work car, which we absolutely love, and the idea is at some point we will do a project with it, and we do have a WRX engine sitting there. So
we know that Mighty Car Mods did a Brumby project with it recently, so
so we're just trying to work out of it. I wanted to make it electric, but then I looked into that, and the financial side is quite expensive at the moment.
Really? Okay.
We don't know. It's hard at the moment to do anything with it, because it's so original and just still runs. And there's a few whines and bits and pieces, but 400,000 kilometers, and it still starts every time and works like a charm.
This is the Motor Dream Podcast.
Bubba Wallace here from 2311 Racing. Funny thing about being fast, you end up waiting a lot. First to show up, first in line, then just waiting. Me, I rev up Chumba Casino. With over 200 social casino games, no slow lanes here. Why sit around when you can spin? I'm already racing. Your turn. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
I know you're a mad car enthusiast. Obviously, growing up with a family that loves cars and probably still has cars in their collection back in Sydney. Obviously, you're based in Melbourne these days, and you've got your mad garage. But I want to know a little bit more what makes you tick. So I'm going to ask just a few simple questions just to get into your brain about your cars. Do you remember the first car that you drove?
Oh, like just to drive at all?
Yeah. Do you remember, were you young when this happened?
Yeah, it would have been on the lap of mum and dad. It would have either been a Toyota Hilux or a Land Cruiser.
Okay.
I reckon in the back paddock.
Nice. Yeah. Was it driving a manual or auto?
Yeah. Yeah, manual. Yeah, I remember us driving around in Dad had an old Hilux, and we would drive around the back paddock, and Dad would just tell us to go and stop just to practice clutch control. And yeah, now I look back, it sounds quite tedious, but I remember enjoying it.
We all think it was. I was excited when I was young, when I was driving my parents' car, and I just loved to, sit on the lap of my dad and just drive the car. It's so cool, so much fun.
Totally.
The first car that you owned?
The first car that I owned was actually a pretty cool car. I went halves in a ST165 GT4. So which at the time they weren't that expensive, but it was like very special for me. It was very cool. And then I did actually sell it to put some money in to go rallying, which I still regret to this day. And then I drove a Mitsubishi Mirage that was like $500.
What a step down.
But that Celica was very cool.
Oh, yep. That's very, very cool. What about the first road trip that you can remember doing?
God, first road trip, there would have been, it would have been into like New South Wales somewhere, going camping with my family and my uncle, and we would have all been in the car, and Dad would have said, like, we're not stopping till we get there. So we were very much one of those families that just like did a big trip and just did it fast. We didn't, stop every hour for a cup of tea or whatever. It was just like you were there and gone.
Yep. Do you remember the first time you changed a tyre?
I don't know if I do. It probably just would have been in the garage, I would have said. Yeah, no, I don't think I don't think that stuck in my brain as a momentous occasion.
You're the first person that's actually said that. They can't remember the first time they've changed a tyre.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. What about the music that you listen to when you go on a road trip or go to a rally event?
80s classics.
Oh, okay. So we're talking like Gold FM down in Melbourne? Or 101.7 back here in Sydney?
No, if you turn on the car right now, I mean, I don't listen to a lot of radio, but the radio station will be on Gold FM.
Yeah, same.
I do admit to that. My co-driver and I, we have an intercom, system in the rally car, so you can put headsets on and talk to each other, but it's Bluetooth to your phones as well. So like there will be a bit of George Michael or something going on, on the road section between the stages.
I have Smooth on. And I have to please the wife because I have to alternate.
Pretty good as well.
Smooth is all right. I have to alternate. We've got the DAB radio in the car, and I drive a hybrid SUV, and we switch between R&B Fridays radio and Smooth. So I've got to keep the wife happy when it comes to R&B. Yeah. So whereas I'm into rock. So that
right.
Similar. Yes. What about eating in cars? Yes or no?
Eating in cars?
Yes.
Yes. I'm I'm always traveling somewhere, so you got a snack. Yeah. Yes.
I was expecting you to say no. It's like, no, got to keep the car pristine and everything.
No. You got a snack.
Okay, fair enough. What about getting your license first go? Yes or no for that?
Yes, I did on my birthday.
Great. I didn't. I'd go for the second attempt. So.
Oh, really?
yeah.
I was very stressed about that, but yeah, I thought it'd be very embarrassing if I didn't, but thankfully I did.
I think when you're at that age, because I'm an '80s kid as well. I think at that point you stress about your HSC and then you stress about your driver's license.
Yep,
They're the two biggest things that happen in your teenage life.
Yeah,
so
totally.
all right. What about the best car you've owned? Was it that GT4, or was it something else?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, like I'm lucky now with Subaru that I always get to have a new Subaru, but I don't technically own that, so
yeah,
I'm gonna have to say the Brumby.
Oh,
it's classic. Oh no, but that GT4 was nice. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't think I'm going to be able to answer that, and yeah, I don't know. I love them all.
Yeah, but what about the worst car then? Have you ever come across a car that you've gone, I can't stand this car, I absolutely hate it, I need to get rid of it?
No, not to that level, I don't think. That Mitsubishi Mirage that I had was like, a very basic car that wasn't, was very worn out and very run down. But, it still did the job. I didn't hate it. It was, got me to A from B, and I was rallying a Mirage at the same time. So it was kind of cool. It was the same car. So no, I don't think anyone that I severely disliked.
Have you worked on your cars in the past? Like, did you have the mechanical knowledge to work on the cars and fix it when you could?
Yeah. So, I mean, when we started rallying at home, I had the cars at home and did all the basic mechanical work on that. We do a lot in the Mad Garage. I would say I'm like a decent enough mechanic. I wouldn't be able to strip and rebuild a gearbox, but I could get the gearbox in and out of the car. I can kind of do all the stuff on the side of the road to try and get a car going. But when it comes to diagnosing electrical faults or fixing wiring, or like rebuilding the internals of an engine, that's probably where I glaze over. Okay. But if you need to fix something on the side of the road, then I've got a few tricks up my sleeve.
Perfect. What about pet peeves like stickers on cars or aftermarket spoilers or stereos? Although that's probably asking the wrong person because you got the Mad Garage.
Yeah, no, I mean, we like some modifications. Yeah, I think, like the modifications, trying to think, like when you put a bonnet scoop on without having a turbo car or those sort of stuff. All the stuff when it tries to look racy, but it's actually not functional.
Yes.
That's probably my pet peeve.
It's like when you have
fake carbon, not a fan of fake carbon, like do carbon or don't do carbon.
What about fake HSVs and the like? You know how you've got your Commodores dressed up like an HSV, but they're not?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Have it or don't. That's probably, yeah.
All right. Who taught you how to drive? I assume both your parents taught you how to drive.
Yeah, both of them. Probably my dad. He's a very good teacher. He's done a lot of driver training. Obviously a very good driver himself. So I'd probably say it would be mostly him.
Okay. What's the weirdest thing in your car currently?
The weirdest thing in my car? Oh, God, that's a good question. I mean, you always got to have like a spare spoon or something like that because you never know when you need a snack. Right now in my car is a office chair and a desk that we just bought for the workshop because we decided we need to do some more work in there.
As you do.
We've got that, yeah.
And you haven't taken it out of the car yet.
No, that's tomorrow's job. So there's an office chair in my car downstairs if anyone wants it.
Oh, is it a racing chair or is it just a normal office chair?
No, I couldn't do the racing chair.
Really?
No, I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Unless I don't know. We're trying to, keep it very minimalist upstairs. We've got enough crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, that's true. Manual or auto?
Manual.
Okay.
I mean, I say manual, but it depends because I think also, if you're in a big car that's towing a lot that has, some of the automatic transmissions these days are so efficient and good. So if I was towing something every day, driving through traffic every day, I would be completely fine with an auto. If I was driving a car that was for my fun, then, if you've got a track car or a sporty car, then manual for sure.
Okay. Are you kind of sad that these days with the current crop of cars that are currently on the market? There's not much manuals around anymore. Do you think it's a bit of a lost art now?
I mean, I think it would. There's probably more like enthusiast cars or sporty cars that'd be nice to have that option. I think there'll be a lot of people that would want that for their sort of day-to-day cars in traffic. I completely get that it's just not a practical solution. But I think, when you talk about the driving component, I think that is a really excellent point, because when you're learning to drive and you're trying to learn to drive a manual, you have to have some understanding of mechanically what's happening with the car, which I think makes you a better driver. Nowadays you hop in a car and does everything for you. It's easy to not appreciate what you're doing and what the capability of the car is that you're doing. And you talk from a driver safety point of view, you don't really need to learn how to drive on the road, which I think, is a real issue. So from that point of view, I think learning to drive manual is great for young drivers, because you have to learn how to drive a car and understand how it works.
Do you name your cars? And what are your thoughts on those that do?
I don't personally, but I mean, our rally car's named Fabio. My uncle named our mad van, our service truck, Ivana. So it was Ivana and Fabio. So I'm not opposed to it. If someone else wants to name it and it's a good name, I'll run with it.
Actually, who made the decision to call the Subi Fabio?
That was Craig Brooks, because when they were building them, he said it was the most beautiful car in the cosmos.
And including the black holes. That's an old Full Frontal reference if anyone ever watched Full Frontal in the 90s.
So that stuck, and now is Fabio.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I know Paul Morris names his race cars, and they're very well known.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it is funny.
What about the best road trip that you've ever been on?
Oh, good question. Best road. Actually, I've got a pretty good answer to that one. I'm going to sound like a complete wanker too. So years ago, I did a trip for Forza, the video game, and we had a bunch of supercars, and we drove essentially across Spain, Italy, and France through Monaco, and I did it all in a lime green Aventador.
Oh,
I'm not sure I'll ever top that, to be honest. That was pretty cool. Although it was very stressful driving that car through Monaco.
How come?
It just, so much traffic. Everywhere was so narrow. You were missing everything by millimeters. And I was just driving around stressed the whole time that I was going to scratch, this $500,000 car. So yeah, that was quite a stressful experience. But out on the open roads, amazing.
I was stressed enough driving through the roads of Ireland in a BMW 5 Series, which was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, there's only room for one car on most of those lanes.
Oh, I was absolutely stressing because I didn't want to scratch the mirrors or anything like that.
Yeah,
I get it. I totally understand.
Yeah.
But the roads of Ireland, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. All right, last question before we move on to the Dream Garage. What feature from a past era would you like to see brought back into a modern road car? Not a racing car, a road car.
What feature? I feel like they're always adding them. What would they be taking away? Oh, like a mechanical handbrake.
Really?
Like, yeah, you gotta have a mechanical handbrake.
I actually don't. Actually, the one thing I don't like about the Kia that I've got right now, it's that little I guess, switch to put the handbrake on. I don't like that. I agree.
So just a proper cable handbrake is nice.
Would you like the umbrella style like the Falcons used to have? Or
no, they can stay. Just the ones, just the general.
They were terrible, weren't they, in the Falcon?
Yeah, they're not good and they stretch really easily.
Wow. Did your dad have any issues with that when he was rallying?
The Falcon actually has a hydraulic handbrake.
Oh, perfect.
So yeah, it's built to do skids, that car.
Oh, that's funny. That's actually really funny. All right, Molly Taylor, this is the reason why I got you on the pod. You wake up one morning, you head to the Mad Garage, and as you open up, you get a text that says, check your bank balance. And you think, oh, come on, this is just crazy. This must be a scam or something. But you then open up your bank account and you suddenly discover you've got an infinite budget. You've become an instant billionaire. You don't know how it happened or why. But then you get a message from this mystery benefactor via email, and it says you can buy any car, bike, or machine that you want. But you're only allowed 3 in your dream garage. So, with that in mind, what would be the first car, bike, or machine you would like to have in your dream garage?
Yeah, this is tricky because you've got to get a bit practical as well, don't you?
Yes.
Well, 22B.
The Subi. Fabio?
Nah.
Craig can have it.
22B. No, I would like one of the WRXs built by Vermont Sports Car, the ones that run in the American Rally Championship. I mean, no offense to Fabio, but their regulations are far more open. So they've just had more freedom to do more. It's got, incredible engine. They've shortened the chassis. They've done all these, big suspension travel. I'll have one of them.
Oh, nice.
And then I probably need a truck of some sort, like a big transporter. Can I have a
absolutely
a Peterbilt that I can put?
Ooh.
Yeah, my mum's a big Peterbilt fan. Neil's got one. They drive to. My mum still drives the Peterbilt to all the races with Neil.
I've heard about that.
And that thing's like it's got a living room in the back almost. It's incredible. So yeah, maybe have a big truck, and then a race car, and then just a fun car.
What would the fun car be?
If I needed to drive to the shops, I would be in trouble.
Hang on, what would the fun car be? What would be the practical car be? Would it be a
day-to-day car?
Yeah, like would it be a Subaru or would it be something else? Or would it be the Brumby?
Oh, the Brumby. Maybe I would get the Brumby, but I would modify it. So I would have it. I'd probably have it on maybe. I was going to say electric, but maybe I would make it. Maybe I could do a hybrid. If I could have the WRX engine, put that on some E85.
Nice.
Put the electric engine in and have like a plug-in hybrid Brumby, but the WRX is the engine.
Oh, yeah. I think I like that.
That's. I'm going to think about that idea way too much.
Now I've got planted the seed in your head, haven't I?
And I would also jack it up a bit, and I would have the ability to. You could have it on 2 or 4-wheel drive, but when it's 2-wheel drive, it's front-wheel drive. I would make it so you could put it in rear-wheel drive, and you could also make it a drift car if you wanted.
Yeah, that's not too bad actually. That sounds really, really
Sounds
cool.
expensive.
You need a lot of money for that. That's for sure. But I've planted the seed in your head now.
Yeah.
So, but I love the fact, the 22B. I mean, everyone remembers that from World Rally Championship, and obviously Mod Sports did there. What were the differences between the Mod Sports version and what Pro Drive did with the World Rally cars?
I mean, the World Rally cars are built, essentially you've got the body and you've got the chassis and you've got the general suspension points and, there's I suppose a limit to things that have to remain from factory. And then after that, it's, full-blown rally car, everything you could imagine from, I guess, engine development, suspension, all the geometry and arms and the weight of it and roll cages. Yeah, it's just, was incredible car.
Yeah, I don't doubt that for a moment. It is a beautiful car. I must admit, I'm not a big Subi fan, but I do love the 22B. It's just that...
There's some cars that will always be classically beautiful and never age.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I had a weird concept, and hear me out on this. And maybe this is something you might want to take up at some point, but hear me out. Years ago, when Supercars first started, when they were known as 5-litre touring cars... Obviously, the rules are obviously stipulated for Ford and Holland, but I thought, I love Subarus. What about the SVX? Get it? Because General Motors once owned a very minor stake in General Motors. So technically, you could still put a Chevy V8 in it, have the body kit and everything, and race it. So that's what I was thinking. Yeah, you put a Chevrolet, like an LS motor, in a current motor into a old SVX.
I mean, even the Liberty, they're all based on sedans.
Yeah, exactly.
Why couldn't you have a Liberty supercar? I reckon that you could do that.
Yeah, you could do that.
The size of the WRX, those probably could.
Could you? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, everyone's put I know there are some people that have done WRXs with V8s in them, but I don't know what it was about the SVX. There was something about the SVX I thought, well, it would fit, the Commodore Falcon style back in the day, even though the back... body kit, but the twin windows, that kind.
Oh, yeah, I haven't had much to do with it. I know Subaru have one in their historic collection that they bring out sometimes, but I've never driven one.
Would you like to drive one?
Yeah, it'd be fun, I think.
Yeah.
I'd like to drive. They've got a little 360 as well, the really, really early Subarus.
Oh, yeah. How different were they?
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They do have a 22B2, but they have not let me drive it. So
have you badgered them to do it?
Yes. I need to badger a bit more. Maybe I need to badger a bit harder. But yeah, that would be amazing.
It's really cool. And one more question: the Peterbilt. I know your mum does drive, the transporters for the Toyotas across all the events of the World Rally Championship. What does she love about the Peterbilts? Like, obviously, it seems like a mobile home on wheels, even though it's not an RV. It just seems so different.
It really is, yeah. I mean, I think Peterbilt's, Mac as well. She's a big fan of Mac. I think it's not just the look of them, just that big, especially the Peterbilt, as you say, like the size of it. They're, so luxurious inside, but then from the outside, the look of it with the big long nose. I mean, not as practical as, a lot of the flat trucks, but just it's a very beautiful piece of engineering when you just stand and look at it, and it's got all the lights on and it's all shiny and chrome and they're very, very cool looking things.
Does she do the radio chat, on the road?
Oh my God, she's so good at it. Yeah, it's quite funny. It's like an alter ego. She turns into a trucker and does the overnight stints across the Nullarbor, and she loves it. It's her like little holiday, just gets out with no phone reception, drives through the middle of the night. Neil switches the clocks around so he can get more sleep, and she has no idea how many hours that she's done. So she probably does the majority of the driving across the Nullarbor.
I can't imagine her being a swearing kind of truck driver. She seems so kind and polite.
She definitely. I'm sure they're in there. I don't reckon they would be anywhere near as much as the general truck driver.
Yeah,
but I'm sure she needs to. She can pull out all the lingo.
Yeah, I totally understand. There's a 10-4 big buddy somewhere along the line.
yeah, that's her.
Love it. I do love it. Actually, just before we wrap up, your mum obviously involved not just in motorsport, but she was in recent times been a board director of the NRMA in New South Wales, which is a massive accomplishment and an honour to be a part of such a long-standing organisation. How proud was she to be a part of the NRMA and contribute her role to road safety, not just in New South Wales, but around Australia?
Yeah, she loved that. And had like a whole sort of all the tenure you're allowed to have, I guess, on the board, but there's only so many amount of years, and served all of them, and really enjoyed. I think, coming from, I suppose, a lot of the traditional path of the board member, sort of like in business and have an MBA and all of that's from the corporate side, and she really came from, I don't think she even finished year 10, and races cars and drives trucks and sort of coming in from a completely different perspective. So I think that was, it was really interesting to then, bring that into that board mix. And as you say, like, she's very passionate about road safety and sort of what needs to be done, and essentially a whole lot around driver training, and the fact that we need to learn how to drive, not how to pass a test. There's still so much work to be done in that space, but to have the opportunity to be involved with that and trying to move that forward was something that she found very special.
Is that something you want to do?
Yeah, we do a bit already with Subaru and the Australian Road Safety Foundation. But we've got lots of plans to keep sort of building that out and trying to do a bit more at a practical level as well. But I think, that's how I got involved in rallying was from a road safety point of view, because, my parents wanted me to know how to drive a car when I got out on the road, not to be, out on the road in traffic, still looking down and trying to work out how to change gears. So, I think that is something that I think is very important. And it's sort of, some people think, you race cars, you're going to be a hoon on the road, but it's the opposite. They're very, very separate things, and you can appreciate what the car can do and what it can't do as well. And how to sort of respect, I think, the car that you're doing. And as my dad always said to me, as soon as I got my license, he said, if you want to rally, you need your road license. So you're going to look like a real idiot if you do something on the road and then you can't rally. So that's been the best incentive since then.
It has been a fantastic incentive, and it's taught you so many wonderful things and taken you to so many wonderful places around the world. And I love the Dream Garage, the 22B, the Brumby in a hybrid
It's very
form.
random.
It's very random, and a Peterbilt. I think you're the first person that's mentioned
the most
a truck.
Impractical car garage. I got to think that through.
Who cares? Who cares? That's a good dream garage as far as I'm concerned. But a Peterbilt, I can imagine that. That would actually be, Actually, have you got your truck license?
I do. I don't have my license for a Road Ranger gearbox, but I've got a heavy combination license.
Okay.
I got that in the year with Scott Petter when he lent me the car to race in the Australian Championship. His car was a semi-trailer, so I had to get a license so I could drive it into the rapids.
Was it difficult? Was it more difficult than learning to drive in a road car?
Yes, yeah, it's a lot more involved, for sure. But also that trike didn't have air conditioning and broke down all the time, so it was just an adventure on so many levels.
And I think your adventures with cars and anything motor related is going to continue. It's been a great chat. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. And what's next for Molly Taylor? Are we going to be seeing more Molly competing, or is it more Mad Garage?
That's certainly the plan. Yes, we're working hard to make all that happen. So yeah, it's a lot happening in the background. Yeah, certainly with the Mad Garage, where we're now really ramping up the YouTube side of things. So we've got a heap of stuff we've shot already, a heap of stuff we're shooting. So that's all running, and having fun doing that. But yeah, we're also working very hard to be back out in a race car very soon.
Yeah, fantastic. And I can't wait when the collaboration with Mighty Car Mods happens. I think that's going to be really, really cool. Hey,
we'll make it happen. I'm holding them to that.
And you got to hold Blair to account too about his first car, which was a Holden Chimera. I mean, you had a better first car than he did. I mean, he had a Holden Chimera. I mean, polar opposites. I mean, this,
I'll win that argument.
Because I had him on the pod last year, so I can actually say that he has.
I'm going to text him now and be like, "Oh, you're thinking."
Exactly, Molly. Again, thank you so much, and all the best. All the best of luck with the Mad Garage and whatever you do for the future.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. We've had an eclectic collection of machines already in the Motor Dream podcast, but never have we had a Peterbilt truck included into the Dream Garage itself. But then again, when you do grow up sharing the same trucking passion as your mother, it's easy to understand and appreciate why these machines rule the highways on a long-haul trip. And I really like the hybrid concept for the Subaru Brumby. It is something that I truly believe Molly and Dan should do as their next Mad Garage project, or even better, collaborate with Mighty Car Mods and go all out on the ultimate hybrid Brumby. Moog, Marty, Subaru, are you up for the challenge? A huge thank you to Molly for her time, and we wish her well in both the Mad Garage and also the upcoming FIA Extreme H World Cup. You can also catch her this weekend as part of the extended commentary team for the Supercars Darwin Triple Crown on Fox Sports 506, KO Sports, and on the screens of the 7 Network. An extended thank you once again to Simone Landers and Joseph Della Masa at TLS Talent for facilitating the interview. Be sure to follow Molly on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure you also check out the Mad Garage on Instagram and on YouTube. We've put up links in the show notes as well as the Motor Dream podcast website. The website itself is at www.themotordream.com.au, where you can listen to past episodes, find out more information on each of our guests, and also on the show itself. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram with the handle The Motor Dream, and you can also start a conversation about your dream garage by using the hashtag The Motor Dream. Or better still, drop us a line on what your dream garage would be. Our email is themotordream@beastproductions.com.au. Lastly, make sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or YouTube Music. Thanks for listening, and remember, please drive or ride safely out on the roads wherever you go. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, where we'll feature our first siblings as my guest, the YouTube famous Mr. Dusty and his sister, Miss Dusty, aka Matt and Lisa Tatani. Until then, we'll see you next time on the Motor Dream Podcast. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Motor Dream Podcast. This series is proudly produced by Beast Productions.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No